Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Hope you are grand and good this morning. I'm going to turn the lamp on over here. There we go. Good morning. How are you? Hope you're doing great this morning on this Thursday. I hope there's goodness and beauty in your day. Are you, friends? Good morning, good morning. There's some greatness in these days for you. Hello. How is everybody? Hey, friends. Good to see you. Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Give it a little bit more. Folks come along. Hey, Jane, good to see you. A new teaching job. That sounds intriguing. I hope it's going great. I hope you love it. So glad. So I was just thinking about you this morning. I just got your postcard about um, what you guys are up to. So nice to see you. So I hope hope there's goodness in it for you. Goodness, goodness, goodness. All right, let's get going this morning. It is the 19th day of February on this 11/11, on this Thursday, that we might come together and journey together for a little while. That I, it is, I walked out this morning and it is one of those days that uh, made me think about times past. That because this morning I walked out and it was everything just had just that right energy where if in another time in another place I would have been placing maple syrup taps. We did this for a number of years. I did it with my dad for a few years. It was just a great joy that to do little maple syruping. And so we used to we put out some taps, put some jugs on there, and it was a way of getting out in this time of year. There's a particular condition that the world comes into that you start to notice that because for the sap to begin to flow, there is this way in which the temperatures during the day need to be warmer than freezing, and then the evening they go below freezing. So there's this kind of almost like a pumping effect that starts to happen as the world begins to come into life again. And if you've noticed it or if you've had eyes for it over time, you'll notice that this is that time. It's I think 36 degrees right now, and so it's just above freezing, and tonight it will be cold again, and the rhythm of the world begins to awake. And the beauty of this rhythm, not just because like this was really in many ways a life-saving thing and a life-saving time in some ways, because there was a sense of like, holy moly, is this winter ever going to end? Is this and we, you look to these springtime activities, these late winter activities as ways to kind of get you over the hump, as the old timers used to say in Maine. We're climbing March Hill. Well, we're not even to March Hill yet, and so there's this way but the world starting to move. But the thing about that is, if you don't have eyes for it, if you don't see, if you don't like haven't or wired into that at all, it actually on a 36-degree day means nothing. that it has no correlation, it has no bearing if you don't have eyes for to see for the sweetness. Because this is one of the things. This is what I want us to come to in what I want to hold up today is this reminder that the flow of sweetness in our life begins long before we can feel it or see it or touch it or taste it. That you think about that this is the time to start maple syruping, to get some taps in, to begin to look for the flow of sap that will come, and then will be boiled down, and then will be concentrated, and then will be canned, and then we'll go on top of some French toast, and we'll have that incredible sweetness, the way mapley goodness, the way that it only can. That begins in darkness, and it begins without fanfare. It begins without anybody noticing. It's the reality of every seed that's ever been planted. Every seed that's ever been planted that has brought forth fruit, that has brought forth goodness in this world, started in the dark. That all seeds are deposited into the ground. All seeds that, there's some ones we germinate and then kind of stick in, but you know what I'm saying. That all seeds begin in darkness, and they begin in with this inability to see the flow that is happening, or the growth that is happening, long before the final leaf begins to poke out on the seedling table or into the ground. That the work that is happening underneath, what we see, what we know, what we encounter, is profound, as a profound gift from God. It is actually the flow of sweetness. It is actually the maple trees beginning to move their sap, do we see it? No. Do we know it? Only by condition. Only by the condition of the world can we even know that it's happening. And yet, this, I think, is actually our spiritual reality most of the time. That the sweetness and the goodness of God is actually present and at work in us and through us. What we're fixated on is that, like, the things we can see, right? Like, we're out there, okay, I'm dealing with this problem. I'm dealing with this issue. I'm dealing with this grief. I'm dealing with this loss. I'm dealing with this anxiety. I'm dealing with this anger. I'm dealing with this injustice. Whatever thing it is that's before us. Maybe I'm dealing with this joy. Whatever it is. But what we're entirely unconscious of often is the fact that all those things that are beginning in darkness, that are coming into light. What we can say, oh gosh, it's going to be 36 degrees and cold and raw, and maybe it's going to rain, and it's going to be, we can look at our external conditions, and without that reality of the fact that the sap is beginning to flow. The sweetness is beginning to come into the world, and that this is God's love for us, and this is our reality all the time. That the seeds are at work germinating in the darkness, and we don't see them. And it is this invitation for us to trust this journey in which God has given us. We are often so fixated, so concentrated on the things that have been brought into our awareness, right? Because this is kind of, you have to think about how our awareness works, right? That we kind of we can talk about, the psychologist folk talk about it as the unconscious, or however you want to understand it. But there's all these things that are going on underneath kind of our awareness. There's all these different movements, and sometimes we'll do crazy things because we don't know, and we don't even know why we're doing them, because we're working things out inside. But then there will be things that they'll pop into our awareness. And all of a sudden we'll see this thing that is before us. We'll see the movement of the world. We'll see this grief, this anxiety. Maybe it's a joy. Whatever it is that's coming into our being, we'll see a problem. Maybe it's a problem we've had for 30 years, but now it's decided to present itself. Now it's decided to put itself out there because underneath the surface, The sap has been flowing for all this time. The sweetness is about to come. And even if it's presenting as a problem, even if it's presenting as a rainy day, even if it's presenting as a raw 36-degree day, even if it's presenting to us in ways that we are just have to contend with it. Maybe it's feeling like a slog through sloppy springtime snow. Whatever it is, that reality is this beginning of the flow of sweetness in our life. It is the beginning of a seed of goodness that has been implanted to us. It is the product of some divine squirrel that has gone out and gotten an acorn and buried it, having forgotten where that is, and that is now pushing its way into our consciousness. And so what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the thing that is in front of us. We're dealing with the thing that's in our daytimer. We're dealing with the noisy thing that is a part of our consciousness. But the great and true reality is that God's great joy for us, God's great wonder for us, is the flow of the sweetness of his love that is flowing through all things, that is prepared for us in all things, that we have but to tap in this season. We have but to get our little drill out, to put our little tap in, to draw off that which is already flowing, even though we may not see it, even though we may not know it, even though we're contending with the conditions in which we are in, because the hands of the Master are always at work. The springtime of life is always available to us. The joy of the beauty that God has within us is always seeking to unfold, even through the things that God's trying to get rid of in us. It's trying to get rid of them. Even he's trying to get rid of our anxiety. He's trying to get rid of our anger. He's trying to get rid of the things that would hold us back. He's trying to bring them up so that we can shed them. So that the great flow of God's joy into our life can be all the more, and that we can, in the journey of our days, maybe boil it down a little bit and concentrate it and let the sweetness of his love for us touch our lips and be a part of our life. I both love and hate this time of year in all of those different ways. But it is always a reminder to me that whatever I'm facing, whatever I'm encountering, whatever I'm dealing with in the midst of us, is always and ever has within it the flow of the Lord's providence to bring me to the beauty of what is happening right now. The great architect Frank Lloyd Wright tells a story that changed his whole life when he was 9 years old, and it seemed insignificant at his time, but he kept coming back to it throughout his life. This story that of him and his uncle crossing a snowy field. They're walking together, and his uncle, much older and more determined and grown man, was focused on getting across the pasture, and he had the place that they were going and to the far gate in his sights, and he walked directly there. And he stopped just before he got to the gate, and he said, Frank, I want you to look back. He says, Look at my tracks and look at your tracks. He says, okay. He says, you see, my tracks are going directly across the field. You can see a straight line that I have headed for the gate with purpose and with diligence. My tracks in the snow are lined right out. And now look at your tracks. And this is a 9-year-old boy, mind you. This is, look at your tracks. You wander over there to say hi to the horses and along the gate, along the fence, and then you wander over to look at the trees and what's going on. Then you wander over, and then you kind of finally come back behind me, and we find ourselves standing here now. Do you see how many more steps that you took? Do you see do you see the difference in the power of a focused reality? Said his uncle. Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the greatest architects that ever lived, took from that experience, he says, his entire philosophy of life. And he said this: I determined right then and there, at 9 years old, he'd say with a twinkle in his eye, not to miss most of the things in my life like my uncle had. Friends, we can want to get rid of these days that are before us. We can want to get rid of the anxieties that are in front of us. We can want to get rid of the 36-degree days with the raw cold in them. But if we listen, and if we watch, and if we realize that in our wanderings of whatever may come into our path and wherever we may go, that our goal is not the direct line, but our goal is to not miss anything on the journey toward the kingdom of heaven, because in it is the flow of sweetness, the beauty of God's grace and love for us. They're ready to be tapped, flowing, just like that sap is flowing right now as I speak in the maple trees outside. That just as the grace and the gift of God's grace for us is flowing into our being, just as the way every acorn that ever came into being contains within it an oak tree, so too is every moment contained within it the love and the joy and the grace of God, even perhaps the ones that take us to painful places, even on our wanderings that take us to dark woods. Because the journey of the pilgrim, the journey of the one who would follow Christ, is not that we may walk steadfastly towards the holy gate, but that we may in every step of our pilgrim's journey determine right then and there, with a twinkle in our eye, not to miss most things in our lives the way Lloyd Wright's uncle had. Because, friends, there is sweetness flowing in your days. Peace and grace to you all, my friends. I hope you have a great weekend. We begin our Lenten journey. We're going to put out a little advert here about our Lenten sermon series that's coming up. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm looking forward to this journey. We're going to talk about six of the. It's called the title is called Murderers Row. We are going to talk about six of the great heroes of the Bible, all of whom were great sinners that became great saints. And so we're going to spend some time in this journey of how David and Moses and Paul and the centurion all came to be from some of the most powerful and most effective people that God called into his stead, and also the most broken and the most sinful. And yet in them made great things out of their lives and made great things for the kingdom of God to bring forth the love of Christ Jesus for us all. So this will be our Lenten journey. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you'll come along as well. We've got a lot of other things going on. Hope you'll check out our website and our Facebook page for all the events that are coming up. Peace and grace to you all, my friends, and we'll pick it up next week with another 11:11.